At Jackson Water, we are in the game and locked in on our goals. Every day, our dedicated teams are hard at work, ensuring that clean, reliable water flows to every home and business in Jackson. We are not just fixing pipes. We're investing in a brighter, more resilient future for our city. Jackson Water. Water for all the time.
Well, hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me for WLBT Plus. My name is Cara Shirley, and I am joined by CJ LeMaster, our investigative reporter here. And we're talking about a new crusade, I guess you could almost call it.
That's a good word.
That WLBT is on.
It's a year-long investigative project that we are putting together, and we've already started, kicked off this past week. Just days ago, and it's centered on the problem of blight in the capital city. And it has been a pervasive problem for, my goodness, certainly at least as long as I've been here, but I would say for the last couple of decades, as people have moved out of Jackson, as the well-documented white flight happened in the 90s, as industry began to leave, you had properties that were left behind. You had properties that in some cases people own and they're not keeping up.
Mm-hmm.
And you also have just the depression on the entire area, because when jobs dry up, people move to where the jobs are. If people don't feel safe, people move. And so what we're trying to do with this is take this, which is probably one of the biggest problems facing the city.
Mm-hmm.
And we only say that because of everything that blight can lead to and can cause and can impact. And so when you talk about economic development, when you talk about crime, all these different things, the city's made some big strides recently in bringing some of these structures down, but we're trying to show the problem, the scope of it, and then also, more importantly, some of the things that lead to it, what causes it, the impacts of it, and solutions, which is something we not are always able to put out there with regularity, solutions to problems. And we're hoping to encourage dialogue between lawmakers, city officials, county officials, and hopefully get that process rolling forward to help be a part of the solution. Because a healthy capital city, we all benefit from that.
Exactly.
And if you're living out there, if you're watching us and you live in one of the bedroom communities around Jackson, and you may feel some kind of way about Jackson or what have you, if Jackson dies, these other bedroom communities will suffer.
They will.
It's like Jackson is the tree trunk and everybody else is the branches. And you have 40, 50,000 people who come to and from the capital city every day to work.
Mm-hmm.
You got to have those jobs. You got to have that economy going. You got to have that money flowing into the economy from the, generated income from people working these jobs. And so it's incredibly important. The health of the capital city, everybody, not only in this area benefits, but everybody in the state benefits from a healthy Jackson.
That's right. And this is a series that we're going to be doing the entire year, the whole entire year investigative piece that we're going to be looking into, talking to several people. And it's going to be airing every Tuesday at 6:00. The first series in this investigation, the first episode, maybe, it aired this past Tuesday. And we're actually going to go ahead and play that for you right now.
I practically know every piece of property in Washington Edition, and I remember what it was like. I remember people in the homes. I remember children playing. I remember yards cut. I remember our parents working hard to provide.
That desire to provide stays with longtime Jackson resident Felicia McClinton, even as parts of the city she loves wither away. You walk out of your front door, you get to your porch, and there's that reminder right in front of you.
Yes, it is. And that piece of property that's right in front of me, someone from the East Coast owned it. And he came and gutted it out as if he was going to do something. And I asked him if he would keep the yard cut. And he did. He did that. But he never came back to do anything.
So many who own property in the capital city end up leaving it behind too, according to Ward 5 Councilman Vernon Hartley.
Out-of-state property owners that just abandon their properties and hard to track down and hard to grab a hold of, and then they start moving ownership from dad to son and so forth. So that, they start playing musical chairs, and then that's more of a delaying process.
Hartley calls the blight a cancer, eating the city from the inside out.
I remember when it started creeping into my ward, I saw two folks. And then I started asking questions for homeless folks going into a hotel and so forth. And that was beginning of a nightmare.
Hartley and his colleague, Ward 1 Councilman Ashby Foote, formed an abandoned properties task force nearly a year ago to tackle the problem. Numbers from the city and Secretary of State's office list at least 4,300 derelict properties in Jackson, 1,900 of which are state-controlled, forfeited when residents or companies fail to pay their property taxes. But estimates from both entities suggest that number could be much higher.
It's going to erode the city by decreasing the amount of residents that actually want to move in. No one wants to move into a street with blighted conditions. It's going to impair our ability to draw in businesses.
That's why he's already asked the state to come to the table, along with city and county leaders.
We need to tighten that thing up. And if we can get any help from the state in order to do that, Attorney General's office, anything that the state can research, that they can change, because this is a problem in Jackson, but it's also a problem in a lot of other municipalities.
But those other places don't matter, McClinton says. Her family planted its roots here.
My mother and my grandmother worked very hard for that little lot on the 1340 Dansby, right at Dansby and Cleveland. And I value that. They worked very hard. And I just can't let all their hard work just go.
You feel a sense of obligation to your parents and your grandparents for that property.
I do.
It is situations like that, stories like that you hear, that it brings to the forefront of your mind the problem with the blight in our area, because it's not just about, oh, it doesn't look pretty, it's not aesthetically pleasing, it looks dirty, people coming in from out of town, they see it. It's more than just that. It's people that have built their lives and their families' lives, and they've worked hard all of their life for the quote unquote American dream, owning your own home.
That's right.
And being a productive member of society, and then just to see the community around you collapse in these blighted conditions. And as a homeowner, there's nothing you can do about it but lose your property in essence, because the property values go down.
That's right.
And there's nothing coming into your community to make it better. It just keeps going down.
There are so many different ways to tell this kind of story. And I think what's important is to keep top of mind that even though it might affect somebody who doesn't live in Jackson, who wants to come to a part of Jackson, but may be dissuaded because of areas in the city that are dilapidated. To me, that's a secondary. The most important thing is the perspective, I should say, is from those people who live there.
Mm-hmm.
Those residents of Jackson, longtime residents like Felicia McClinton, who you met there. She has been there almost all of her life. She has watched portions of that city just dry up, portions of her neighborhood just dry up. She has watched these pockets just start to spread, like Vernon Hartley said, like a cancer. And so for her, it's intensely personal. It's not so much, it's not reduced to a Flowood resident going into Jackson, but too scared to drive around.
Mm-hmm.
This is somebody who has seen this for decades. This is somebody who has invested in the community, whose parents and grandparents have legacy here.
Right.
Generational, you can't even, we talk about generational wealth building and the being able to own your own home and how important it is to own your own homes, particularly for minority families. How can you pass on generational wealth to your children and your grandchildren if property values continue to dwindle because of blighted conditions? You can't.
Right.
And so this is something that, she's not walking away. She's staying. She's fighting it. She's a part of a neighborhood association. We weren't able to get into that in the piece, that has purchased parcels for very cheap to try to make sure that they are at least maintained. There are so many properties that are state owned, as Cassandra is saying here. The state of Mississippi should be about buildings and properties that they abandoned. Blight County and state leadership are a problem for the city of Jackson. City leadership must change also. So one thing about that, Cassandra, and I appreciate you saying that. So from what we can understand, the state of Mississippi does not have any obligation to keep up these properties. Statutorily, they don't. Maybe that needs to change.
Mm-hmm.
What happens now is if you don't pay property taxes for 2 years, the state then assumes control of the property. It is turned over to the state. And so we have nearly 2,000 properties in the city of Jackson, according to the Secretary of State's office, that meet that criteria. Vernon said there are probably, counting those numbers, 6,000 properties in all that are dilapidated or blighted across the city. Secretary of State's office says there are close to anywhere from 8,000 to 10,000. So, we have different estimates out here. But it's safe to say that there are thousands. And most of these, as we were looking at the map, are connected and originated in South Jackson, not necessarily West Jackson where the zoo is. And so the question is, you have cities that will address this issue through code enforcement. City of Clinton has 6 code enforcement officers. The city of Jackson, state's largest city, has 3.
Wow.
So we need more. Vernon said that they have budgeted for 7 additional code enforcement officers, which is a start. They're going to be asking the legislature for money in order to be able to, this blight task force, this abandoned properties task force that he and Ashby Foote are working on and the council is endorsing. They're in the beginning stages of, they've done a lot of the research and now they're working, they have this master plan. They have all these steps they're trying to, and basically so that they can get grants and so that they can get buy-in from lawmakers. And if they can do that and they can get money coming in, then we could start to see an accelerated push to rid the city of these structures that are just eyesores, for lack of a better word.
And so the grants that they are trying to get in and that money, that is to go towards the tearing down of these properties?
I think it's going to be through housing and urban development. So I'm not sure if it's going to be just strictly for tearing them down or for revitalization. It could be for both. I don't want to misspeak there. but they are following all the HUD guidelines that they have to have in order to be able to make sure that they get this. The key part of this, and I asked Councilman Hartley about this during the interview. We weren't able to show, the story, we can't make it 10 minutes long as much as I would like to.
That's what we have this for, so we can talk more in depth.
That's right.
Stuff.
But he said that, and I asked him specifically, I said, with the bribery scandal going on right now, how does that affect your ability to get lawmakers to trust the city right now? That's a valid question. We're in the session. We have a mayor who's been indicted. We have 2 council members who, one who is currently under indictment and one who resigned after being charged with bribery. And we have a DA who is also indicted. And so now you sit there and you think to yourself, okay, what do we need to do to make sure that lawmakers are going to trust the other officers, elected officials who are running the city of Jackson? Mm-hmm. And, are we as likely to want to give that money to the city right now? And what I would hope is that, Blight affects so many people. It affects you if you work here, but it really affects you if you live here. Mm-hmm. Because industry is not going to want to come in to a dilapidated or depressed area.
That they're not going to be able to recruit workers into.
That's right.
I mean, it's kind of like a domino effect. Well, when you said that you asked Vernon about the state's opinion of Jackson with the leadership and the indictments and the bribery scheme, what was his response? Does he think that it hurts Jackson's eyes in the state of Mississippi, or hurt Jackson in the state of Mississippi's eyes?
He said that obviously that plays a role, but he felt very confident they'd be able to get the money. He felt very confident that they would be able to still move forward. And he said that he's been in contact with state officials. I would assume probably Secretary of State's office, because again, the Secretary of State's office is the part of state government that is more or less, once a property is tax forfeited to the state, it falls under the Secretary of State's purview. And so he's been in contact with Michael Watson's office. It seems that at least at this point, everybody that's involved here, because it affects the county as well, it affects the state, all the parties that are affected are coming to the table, which is good. So they're at least doing that to be able to listen and I think come together on a consensus. I think you're also going to probably need some changes at the state level on what the state's responsibility would be for these properties. And because it can't just be like, for example, I want to say, I don't know if it was Hartley who mentioned this, or it might've been Miss McClinton who we talked to, said that, you can no longer cut lawns on these state properties. Like the city couldn't. And I'm like, well, why couldn't you? Because you should be able to fix that up or something, or at least, again, city would have to be using resources to do that. But, somebody has to keep it up. And if you're not, then you saw the house on the screen that woman, that Miss McClinton lives right across the street from.
Yeah.
The grass was almost as tall as me.
But they can't get on there. They can't go and cut the grass because it's a state-owned property. But the state's not coming in to cut
and the state, right? The state can't either. There was something. It was I think a few years ago, where the city was saying, we were selling properties for $10, and but you had to have a commitment that you were going to make a certain level of investment in it within the first 6 months to a year, because you don't want somebody just snapping up properties and not doing anything, because that's kind of where we are now.
Right.
And so then sometimes you also have owners, like you heard Hartley say, who live out of state and just buy these maybe for tax write-off purposes, or they've had it for a while and they don't really want to do anything with it, and they're just sitting here letting it languish. Sometimes that happens. You look at the situation here in Jackson, where the Hotel O on Frontage Road is owned by someone who lives in New York. And that company or that man who owns that property had been not doing anything, had been letting all these health codes hit, all these things. It was condemned. The city had been trying for months and months and months to get rid of it. And now suddenly somebody who is related to the owner comes up and says, no, we're trying to do everything we can, but the city wants to tear it down. Well, now you show up after 2 years. So, it's this sort of, it's like a game of whack-a-mole to hear these officials talk about it. You're trying to find out who's the owner. Where's the owner at? Okay. Oh, they've deeded it to somebody else. Oh, well, who's this? Oh, we can't get a hold of them. Oh, we don't have jurisdiction because they're out of state. It's a madhouse trying to get people. And then you don't have enough code enforcement officers to handle all the cases. And then you have court that's probably overrun by all these cases. And so something has to give to be able to, I'm sure that they have a crowded docket. I'm sure they have a lot of people, a lot of cases before them that they just can't get through fast enough because of the sheer number of properties here.
The number of properties and the lack of people to handle the cases.
That's right.
They go hand in hand. Miss Rosemary Meadows here has a really good comment. She says, maybe they should give, or suggestion rather, maybe they should have a giveaway of properties to anyone who will bring the property back up to date in a year. If the individual fails, then it reverts back to the state. If they succeed, they should be given ownership of the property.
That's a great idea.
That is a great idea.
And it's not very, it's actually pretty similar to, I'm trying not to sneeze.
If you sneeze, it's okay.
You get that tickle in your nose.
I've sneezed into the microphone before. Don't tell my boss though. Bless you, CJ.
Third time's a charm. Sorry about that, y'all. Live TV.
We are human.
Rather it happen here than,
in your girlfriend's face or something
sure,
like that.
Yeah, that's not, that's
Don't want that.
I'm not winning any, I'm not, why would you say that? Why would you say, I would never do that.
Not on purpose.
Why would you say that?
No, I'm going to put that in your head.
Oh,
You're going to
my
be terrified
gosh.
to
I'm going to mention it to her. No, but that's what Rosemary said is very similar to what we've reported on before with the $10. Because I mean, if you're selling properties for $10, you're basically giving them away. But again, you're doing it with the expectation that people are going to fix it up. The person who wants to own the property is going to fix it up, and it's going to put some sort of, but I something's got to happen. Something's got to happen. Something.
So one thing that I really like that you talked about, is the Miss Meadows. Is it who you spoke with? The individual, Francine, I think is her name.
Oh no, talking about the lady who
you interviewed,
Felicia McClinton.
Felicia McClinton.
Yeah,
I got the F and the M right.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
But Miss McClinton, and you talked about she's part of a community program or a community group where they've actually bought parcels of land.
That's right.
That is beautiful to me.
Yeah.
The fact that people, they care enough. Nobody told them they had to do it. They're probably not even looking at this in a way of making money in the long run or anything like that. But it's just simply to save the neighborhood, to help save her neighborhood. And unfortunately, not everybody is able to do that. Not everybody has the heart to do that. But I believe that what Ms. McClinton is doing is beautiful. That is an absolutely beautiful thing. It brings tears to my eyes, really, to think about someone, a homeowner who loves the legacy of their home, what it stands for within their family, their neighborhood, so much that they are willing to literally put themselves on the line to help save their neighborhood.
Well, she's practicing what she preaches, and we talk about all the time how folks should take pride in their neighborhoods, and we have so many stories that we do on WLBT about illegal dumping, and or Rosalind Anderson has done many stories on that in various parts of the city. And if that's not, I guess, the ultimate insult, where you just, where somebody who wants to dump mattresses, tires, trash, a lot of people who do this who don't live in Jackson and come here to dump their trash, what that says about their perception of Jackson, what that says about their respect for other people's property. There is no respect. And so, there's a lot encompassed in this. We thought that this was important enough for us to taken to, essentially 52 different stories, a full year to really look at this problem and dive deep. And I'm asking anybody watching that if you have any information that you would like, if for example, someone who, maybe you yourself, it's whether you or somebody who is affected by this. Maybe you live in a neighborhood where it's nothing but blighted houses all around you. Maybe there are some properties that you know of that are owned by somebody. Maybe it's a slumlord type situation going on. Maybe there's a company that owns them that's out of state. Let us know about these problems in your neighborhood. Let us know about these problems that are happening, and we will look into that and we will investigate it over the course of this year.
And the way that you can do that is by going to our website. And here's our cover page of our website right here. At the top, you'll see news, watch live, first alert weather, Jackson bribery scheme, and then you see fight the blight. If you click on that, it takes you to this page where you can submit your information. You give us a way to contact you and tell us your story. Tell us about the eyesore that you're seeing in your community, and let us know about it. Now, let's go ahead and say, does that mean that everything that is sent in to us is going to be featured in the fight the blight? Is not. However, answers cannot be made. Improvement cannot happen if people are not actually seeing the problem out there. And it is so much more than maybe even a lot of people think of, because some people, for me, for instance, if I'm here coming to Jackson, I'm in Jackson every single day, but I'm coming down I-55. I'm getting off right there. I don't even know the road name anymore that I get off on. Yes, that one.
Pearl Street, yeah.
But I get off on Pearl Street, get on South Jefferson, come here to the station, and then retrace my steps going back up I-55. So there's a lot that I don't even know about. I don't see it, even though I'm here in Jackson every day.
Yeah.
And so without you telling us what is happening in your neighborhood, in your area, or your experiences, we don't know, and we can't then share that story.
That's
so
right.
Go to the website and let us know about it. Again, Wlbt.com is the website that you can go to. It's right there on the top of the page. Let me go back to this for you guys. Right here at the top of the page, you'll see where it says Fight the Blight. You click on that, and it's going to bring you to this page where you can enter your information, enter your story, and let us know what it is you want us to cover.
Tracy Weston has a very interesting comment. I have a property I've been trying to bring up since 2017, but it's so hard to get a permit from the city. I just said, screw it, and just keep the yard cut. And every year the property taxes are going up. That's a really good point. It's something that we need to check on, because I'm not sure what that permitting process is whenever you're trying to fix up a property, when you're trying to renovate. Even just to demolish. I'm not sure what all is involved in that. I'll be the first to tell you, what is that expression? Jack of all trades, master of none.
Yes.
I'm not an expert, but I play one on TV.
Yes.
There's a lot of things that
we Holiday Inn last night.
That's
all that
right.
Good stuff.
I would first tell you, there's a lot that we don't know. A big reason why we're doing this too is because we want to be able to educate ourselves. We want to be able to educate others about what's going on. And if there are kinks in the system, like you said, Tracy, if there are issues with being able to get a permit, well, we definitely want, if that is something that is an obstacle for people who want to fix their property up and can't because of something at the city level, we definitely want to know about that.
We definitely do. So Tracy, will you please reach out to us? I know you have here on Facebook making your comment here, but go to the website, fill out that form so that we can get back in touch with you and we can dig a little deeper to what you have going on here and see if that's a problem that's not just affecting you, but affecting multiple people.
Also, too, we want to make sure that if you have issues that you want to report about, please, there's not an option to do so on this form online, but you can also email us. You can email me at coleman.lemaster@wlbt.com. But send pictures. There's not a way to send pictures through the the form on our website. But
Right.
but if you have pictures, or if we reach out to you, get pictures to be able to show us pictures more than video, because video, when we're trying to receive it, sometimes there are issues. But we want to be able to see what you're seeing. We want to be able to see what you're talking about. We want to be able to understand kind of what now. So and
Here's
this
our email address
so
up on the screen.
I have multiple at the station that all route to the same thing. So this one is just LeMaster@WLBT.com. I know from here it looks like LeMaster, looks like a disease. It's not. It's just LeMaster at WLBT.com. That's right. It's first letter last name. Dot.
Yeah, it's a lot of. So,
yeah.
But he promises not to sneeze on you.
I'm not going to sneeze on you.
You will not.
I don't know how you could do that. I guess I could just like type it out. That doesn't make sense. But I think the biggest thing here is just to, we want very much to help be a part of the solution here. And
Right.
and when I tell you that investigative journalism is incredibly powerful, it can move mountains. It can do a lot of things. We had stories that Anthony Warren and I worked on back in 2023 that helped change state law. And so things that we report on, the power of investigative journalism, the power behind the credibility associated with WLBT, 3 on your side, can do a lot. And if we're able to play a role in helping make this city that we all love look more beautiful, be more successful economically, grow and blossom, then my goodness, why wouldn't you want to be a part of that?
Right. You're right.
Yeah.
That is 100% true. And CJ talking about the power of the investigative stories and investigative reporting, and even the name WLBT and the changes that we have thankfully been able to help bring about because of some of the reporting. But it's also the power of your stories. Without you, none of it happens. None of it matters.
And I think, again, the reason why we wanted to choose Mrs. McClinton's story and highlight her in this first piece is because she's a lifer. She is going to be here. She's going to leave that house to her children.
Mm-hmm.
And, she is committed to doing the work. And my goodness, if we had 10,000 people who were as fired up as she was, imagine what we could accomplish. Imagine what could happen in the city. And, you think about, we were doing crime stat numbers the other day, and I'm pulling populations from different major cities, and we're looking at homicide rates. And I noticed that Detroit has increased in population from 2023 to 2024 by 30-something thousand people. Detroit, the place that a lot of people had been just basically writing off as, oh, it's decrepit, there's a bunch of abandoned properties there, it's nothing. Well, now they're seeing growth. So at some point you hit rock bottom and you start to, Memphis has undergone a resurgence in the last 15, 20 years economically. It's going to happen in Jackson too. And how amazing would it be to be able to be a part of that and be able to help that. And so if we can move that conversation forward, put pressure on lawmakers,
Mm-hmm.
put pressure on city leaders, put pressure on county leaders. It's kind of in our wheelhouse. It's kind of the thing we do. And we have no problem doing that. I'll be the bad guy. I have no problem putting somebody on blast if they are not doing what they're supposed to be doing. And if it's holding the city back, and
Mm-hmm.
if it's, because you think of it this way, it's like, well, I live in Jackson. A good portion of people in our newsroom live in Jackson. All of us work in Jackson. But you know what? I want things to be better because of people I've met along the way, like
Yes.
Felicia McClinton,
Mm-hmm.
like other people. There was a girl that I interviewed one time. She no longer lives in Jackson. This was in 2018. She lived on a street that it was all abandoned houses except 3 families. And she was regularly targeted and burglarized because of only 3 houses where people lived on that block. They stuck out like sore thumbs. We didn't even release the street she lived on because we were fearful that somebody would watch it and then try to target her that way. And so if you are staying behind and you love this city and you really want to make a difference, you are fighting an uphill battle. And if we can help make that a little bit easier,
Mm-hmm.
why wouldn't we?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So go to WLBT.com and enter, go to the Fight the Blight at the top of the page. If you have a situation that you would like for us to look into, you can enter your information there. And to say goodbye today, what we're going to do is we're gonna play this piece again. We're gonna play this again and hear from.
Can I give a quick shout out to the Mike Magazine? I don't know why you
Angela.
know, Angela's saying, hey, it's good to see you, or good to read your words. She's saying, hey, but I mean, we're at the end of the broadcast now.
Yeah.
She's like, we never got snow like predicted. I don't work in weather.
You can blame Dave Roberts for that.
Let me tell you, I get mistaken for him all the time, and I just say he's my older brother. But I don't do weather. I'm happy to be hands off on that. It's good. It's good to hear from you too.
I'm kind of offended that we didn't get snow, because I feel like if we have to deal with these freezing temperatures, at least let us have a little bit of fun.
It would have been nice.
I mean, and in Mississippi, snow's around for what, like 10 hours, 24 at the most, and then it's gone.
You ever have snow cream before?
Yes.
Oh, it's so good.
It's
so good.
It's been a long time, since I was a kid. But yes, I have. So It is good stuff. All right, guys. Well, we are going to let you go. I'm going to finish or close out today's show by playing the first episode of Fight the Blight. Again, this is a 52-week investigation that we're going to be doing throughout the entire year of 2025, hoping that this will spur positive, impactful change here in the city of Jackson.
And not only do we want problems, and we showed you on the website, you can go to say that, but we also want, if you have solutions like we heard earlier
from it was Miss Rosemary.
That's right, Miss Rosemary. If you have solutions, then please let us know, and we'll pass those along to people who can actually make those changes happen. Because I think just being able to get all that information from folks who are directly affected could be invaluable. I mean, it only fosters more conversation.
It really does. Yeah. It really does. All right, guys. Well, you have a wonderful weekend. I will be back on Monday at 1:00. But here, let's take a listen to our first episode in the Fight the Blight series that we are doing here at WLBT. You guys have a great day.
I practically know every piece of property in Washington Edition, and I remember what it was like. I remember people in the homes. I remember children playing. I remember yards cut. I remember our parents working hard to provide.
That desire to provide stays with longtime Jackson resident Felicia McClinton, even as parts of the city she loves wither away. You walk out of your front door, you get to your porch, and there's that reminder right in front of you.
Yes, it is. And that piece of property that's right in front of me, someone from the East Coast owned it, and he came and gutted it out as if he was going to do something. And I asked him if he would keep the yard cut, and he did that, but he never came back to do anything.
So many who own property in the capital city end up leaving it behind too, according to Ward 5 Councilman Vernon Hartley.
Out-of-state property owners that just abandon their properties and hard to track down and hard to grab a hold of, and then they start moving ownership from dad to son and so forth. So that, they start playing musical chairs, and then that's more of a delaying process.
Hartley calls the blight a cancer, eating the city from the inside out.
I remember when it started creeping into my ward, I saw two folks, and then I started asking questions for homeless folks going into a hotel and so forth. And that was beginning of a nightmare.
Hartley and his colleague, Ward 1 Councilman Ashby Foote, formed an abandoned properties task force nearly a year ago to tackle the problem. Numbers from the city and Secretary of State's office list at least 4,300 derelict properties in Jackson, 1,900 of which are state-controlled, forfeited when residents or companies fail to pay their property taxes. But estimates from both entities suggest that number could be much higher.
It's going to erode the city by decreasing the amount of residents that actually want to move in. No one wants to move into a street with blighted conditions. It's going to impair our ability to draw in businesses.
That's why he's already asked the state to come to the table, along with city and county leaders.
We need to tighten that thing up. And if we can get any help from the state in order to do that, Attorney General's office, anything that the state can research that they can change, because this is a problem in Jackson, but it's also a problem in a lot of other municipalities.
But those other places don't matter, McClinton says. Her family planted its roots here.
My mother and my grandmother worked very hard for that little lot on the 1340 Dansby right at Dansby and Cleveland. And I value that. They worked very hard. And I just can't let all their hard work just go.
You feel a sense of obligation to your parents and your grandparents for that property.
I do.